Alright, it's about time for another update on the status of the WarPass game. I know it's been a while, so I don't actually remember what we covered last and how much has been done. So rather than go through the specifics of every little thing that I've done, we're just going to kick it off and I'll talk about where we're at and some of the features. Instead of running in a build full screen, I'm going to run this straight out of the Unity editor, mainly because there's some things I want to show where you need Unity to see the difference. But I'll try to, I know split screen here can make things a little bit small, so when some of it I may make the screen larger, but it'll just be a whole lot easier to show it in Unity. So let's get started. So hit start here. So the first thing that you'll see is that there's a login screen or a menu screen here with a WarPass logo on it. Everything is stand-in at this point, so don't expect any of the graphics to be final. So a little bit of animation on this button. So click that button and we'll load into the game. So a lot of stuff that's been happening in the game is happening behind the scenes. So the entire map is stored in a JSON file, and that when I hit that load scene, it's instantiating the game, loading that map into memory, and doing what's necessary to spawn you into the world at this particular location. So we are currently sitting at 000 in the solar system, and I'll just start moving here, and you'll see I have a ship here so you can see kind of relative motion. The sun there is not moving very quickly in comparison to the ship, but it is moving. Let me go to full screen here. So if I start moving upwards here, eventually you'll start seeing that the sun is kind of moving downward slightly. This is just a stand-in for the eventual sun. I'm not sure whether I'm going to use 2D graphics, 3D graphics, particles, or whatever, but this gives you a good idea of kind of the scale as I'm flying here upwards, and we're still within the scope of the sun. So the entire game, if you want to think about it, takes place if you're looking from the top down of a solar system, let's go back to dual screen here. If you're looking top down of a solar system, you've got the sun in the center of the solar system, and you've got things going on around it, and you are flying along the plane of the disk of solar objects, the planets and the asteroids and things like that. So if you look on the left screen, you'll see that you're starting to see some things, some dots appear. And they appear occasionally out in the distance. So these are asteroids that are loading into the scene as we approach them, and they are random generated, and in this case they are being generated on an ellipse around the sun, like it's a disk of orbiting debris. And as I fly through them, let me scroll down here, you'll see that more will appear in the top area here as I don't want to hit things. As I move north, there you see more appear. When I get outside of the range, they disappear, and the ones that have already been generated will reappear. If you come back in that area, will reappear in the same place. So there is some consistency. However, once you destroy an asteroid, it will no longer appear. If you were to fly out of range and fly back in, it will no longer appear. However, if you leave this zone and come back, the entire zone when it resets will generate a brand new set of random asteroids. So in theory, if you could mine out an entire asteroid belt, you know, you could leave and come back and there'd still be asteroids to mine. So let's move up here, and I'll stop over here next to this. We'll go back to maximize for a minute, and I'll just start shooting at this. Chase it a little bit, and you'll notice that as it starts to break, there are cracks that develop across the asteroid, and that's going to be the cracks, the colors, and everything else are going to be highly dependent upon you know, the makeup of the asteroids. Right now we got these stand-in asteroids, so they're going to collide with each other right there. Alright, so let's go ahead and finish this one off. And there we go. Fly away real quick here. So what you see there is the loot. So I've got, that's iron that moves gravitationally towards your ship, and that is a canister of coins. I don't have any sound effects yet on the pickups and things like that, but so at this point, you know, you break an asteroid, it's going to drop some loot, and it's going to you know, that's going to be the life force of your crafting. And the loot, you know, you can shoot it as well, although I think I probably will not have loot be destructible. I think that's kind of unfair. So, while you can't see it here in this mode, if I take this back here and we look at the player ship right here, and come up here, we'll go all the way down to its containers, to its container system, and I have picked up a total of 200 currency and 20 iron ore. So right now the loot is not random, but that's one of the soon-to-be implemented pieces, is a randomization of the loot, and the loot will vary greatly depending on the type of asteroid. And I'm probably going to make it possible to knock certain pieces. Let me stop here real quick. I can hit the brakes. Go back here, where you'll be able to target certain pieces of the asteroid and actually shoot pieces off of it, as opposed to just breaking the entire asteroid off. So, you know, a single asteroid could have a high carbon shard, it could have you know, a metallic shard, and if you're going through an asteroid field looking to maximize, you know, your gold yield or platinum yield or whatever, you know, you'd be able to scan for that type of metal, go find it, and take out just that piece if you wanted to. Sort of precision mining. And that will be enabled with things like, so you notice how when I hit this, it moves away from me when I shoot it. So mining lasers, when they strike, will do damage without imparting any inertia. So one of the problems with mining with a gun is it's just pretty much brute force, and you got to deal with the ramifications of momentum. So that's the basics of this. Let me illustrate just a little bit more of the local area in the solar system. So as you can see right here, this is a little bit of the band of asteroids at the top of the star. What I'm going to use is a fast travel system to travel off to the right a little bit. And you'll see we're moving to the right. I'm going to go over again. I'm just moving 500 game units away each time. And you'll see that I'm still within that asteroid belt. Let me zoom in over here a second. Yeah, so now that sun is so far away that it's not loading in the scene. But let's see, let's move down here. See if I can hit the outer rim of this belt. And we're moving again. And yeah, here we are. So this is the outer rim of that belt. So let's just kind of fly the outer edge here. And you'll see this area here. Where as I pass these asteroids, you can see them coming into my slightly into the frame. But I could literally fly a circle around this particular belt on the inside or the outside. So that piece, it took a while to get the random generation working the way I wanted it to. So let's show that off and show you what's going on there. So to do that, we're going to go into the map editor. We'll save that scene. So in the map editor, we're going to go over here, hit play. The editor right now is still not exactly ready for just anybody to come in and edit. There's some, some knowledge you have to have. Like I have to click on this, and then I have to come down into the map editor and load the map. So, all right, let's go maximize real quick here. So this is the solar system. So the sun, that little orange dot right there in the center, is the sun that we were just around, and that inner small green circle is the asteroid belt that we were just around in. So I'll give you a little scale there. Let me take it back out. See if zooming in helps at all. So way down in there, we were sitting right here when we turned off the game. So let's take this back. I can go back to the normal view here, and I can use this scene, this stage over here on this side, and I can actually zoom in much easier and show you where you're at. So this is the sun that we were around, and I'll come out, and that is the asteroid belt that we spawned around. So this asteroid belt, so if I click on that, it takes me down, and I can highlight the object that's from the database. I'll go up here, and all of the information about that object is stored right here, and that belt is the random generation object. So each of the asteroids are not actually stored in the database. They're generated at runtime, and they're generated around that particular band. So that band has an inner radius and outer radius. So the inner radius is 1500 and the outer radius is 2000. And the ellipse has an eccentricity. So if right now it's close to a circle, but if I were to take this and make it a 2-to-1, you can see now that the band is slightly just a little different. And let's make the inner radius 700. So that's a pretty ugly little band, but we'll definitely see that change. So I hit save here, stop the editor, go back into my master scene, run. And sorry for the waiting, but that's how Unity plays. This is what developing is like, constantly going back and forth like that. So, there we are. We can now see that those asteroids are all around us, as we made them really close. But that's the idea. So we edit the map, we put things in, and the map editor is not finished, obviously. One of the things I want to be able to do is select items in the actual game screen and make modifications to their settings. Be able to zoom in with the camera. I've got most of those features are capable. I just haven't implemented the zoom and camera controls. Again, we go over here and load. There we go. So what we've got is just show you around the solar system real quickly. We've got the sun sitting in the middle, which you saw. There's a band of asteroids along here. We've got a planet or a moon-like object over here with a band of asteroids around it. Sort of think of it as a ring. We've got one out here. These aren't really placed yet. I will eventually give them arcs, elliptical orbits, so that they make some sense. But we've got objects all over the place in here, and this is just the major bodies. So eventually I'll have the ability to drop it. Well, I currently have the ability to drop any kind of asset I want into the world, but you'll have the main planet objects, moons, space stations, the random generators, mission points, loading zones. I mean, just anything that you need for a game will be droppable in here. If I wanted to put a nebula in an area, or you know, an Oort cloud or something, I can do that. When I place objects in there, for example, let's take a look at the sun object itself. I can specify what prefab I want to put in there, and that prefab, it does not care. The editor doesn't care what that prefab is. It just says, hey, when the game runs, that's what I'm going to throw in there. So that could be a 3D planet, or a 3D spherical sun, or it could be a space station in the background. It could be a space station in the foreground. It really doesn't care. One of the newest features of this is the parallax distance. So if I place this on the billboard layer right here, which is where most of these objects exist, that's in the background, I can control just how slowly they move by their parallax distance. So the larger this number, the slower they move across the screen. The overall camera system utilizes several layered cameras to include perspective cameras and orthographic cameras, so that I can sort of get the look I want for the local area, but also have the benefit of perspective to give that parallax. So it's definitely an interesting hybrid, and that's where we're going. And we've got more stuff to work on it, obviously. Let's see what's the plans next. I'm about to overhaul the ship system. So the ship controls and everything else right now are sort of spaghetti code. And we're going to turn that into a more game-like system where you can upgrade your ship by upgrading its weapons, its dynamo, its engines, its sensors, you name it. So we've got a plan for that, and that's the beginnings of the gameplay. Well, I like to say that we've now got an end-to-end solution for putting the world together and going into that world and playing the world. Now it's time to put some gameplay in. Also, I'm going to be trying to integrate a story system in, so that we can begin laying some groundworks for stories and story arcs and missions and things like that. So anyways, that's where WarPass is now, and thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.